Namaste and thank you for the opportunity, Nest India and everyone. My wishes to you all on the occasion of Bhim Jayanti. So it's my privilege and pleasure to share my thoughts about Dr. Ambedkar and pay my tribute through this speech. As we all know, Dr. Ambedkar is the true legend and visionary who contributed greatly to shape today's Bharat. He has always been the inspiration to people who think of a better society than yesteryears. That's why everyone knows about his biography and the details of his life, his fights against the caste discriminations, everything. And moreover, socially conscious people, foot soldiers of social movements, and students of social studies, they know in detail about his speeches, writings, and the significant messages they carry. Therefore, today, what we will do, we'll just focus on 10 important points. Of course, they are important as per my opinion, and which to me have shaped modern India and his contributions and some studies about his movement. So, briefly speaking, I will only speak with the 10 important points or pointers rather. So let's begin. The first and for the most important for me, I think Dr. Ambedkar is his endorsement of the cultural unity of India. While the RSS, we all know, very firmly believes that Bharat is one nation since ages, but there are some intellectuals who strongly disagree to this idea, and they advocate Bharat never has been a nation because of the many diversities in physical conditions and practices. On the top of that, these people who do not wish to see India as a strong and united country, they viciously propagate the theory of Aryan invasion and indigenous people. With the help of this, they demand the separatist demands, they pop up every now and then and are flared up by their intellectual supporters very frequently. In modern India, to me, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was the most important political figure, political leader, who very strongly advocated that Bharat is a culturally united Rashtra nation since ages. If we see his exact words about this, he says, I venture to say that there is no country that can rival the Indian peninsula with respect to the unity of its culture. It has not only a geographic unity, but it has over and above all a deeper and much more fundamental unity, the indubitable cultural unity that covers the land from end to end. This is very, very loud and clear. And I just want to quote an example of the significance of having Dr. Ambedkar as our guiding light. It was felt when Breaking India forces were there at the 2001 Durban World Conference against racism. These people, they tried to exploit the global platform. They tried to convince the United Nations that the caste system in India is nothing but the racism and the UN must intervene. So it was a direct threat to sovereignty of India. It was the clear stand based on Dr. Ambedkar's research. And the stand was taken by the then Atalji government's representative. I think it must be Mr. Omar Abdullah, incidentally, which saved the unwarranted intervention by the UN to India. And the same people who have always tried to propel their separatist agenda with the indigenous people theory, they are the same ones. Dr. Ambedkar specifically clarified or refuted this Aryan invasion theory, not based on the intuition. It was based on his research because he was an anthropologist by education. We all know. He very clearly refutes the Aryan invasion theory. And in a condition where his guru, Mahatma Phule, had strongly advocated this theory, and even Lokmanya Tilak, in his earlier versions of writing, had endorsed that the Aryans had indeed come from outside India, outside Bharat, and intruded the aboriginals who were the Dravids and the Dalits. This narrative could have been well exploited for his political discourse. Still, he refuted it. Why? Simply because it did not stand on the merits. And we all know the theory was invented by the colonial historians with all the wrong intentions. We are not going into the details because of the lack of time. But the same lie is being still peddled and being used by the Breaking India forces. Dr. Ambedkar, to me, stands rock solid against these vicious ideas with his refute. He writes in his book, Annihilation of Caste, which is a 1936 book. As a matter of fact, the caste system came into being long after the different races of India had commingled in blood and culture. To hold that distinctions of caste really are really distinctions of race, and to treat different castes as different races is a gross perversion of fact, he says. Caste system does not demarcate racial division. Caste system is a social division of people of the same race. This point is very, very important to me. This creates a base of culturally united Rashtra, and which is again हम सब में जो एकत्व का धागा है उसको मजबूत करने वाली बात है. ये डॉक्टर अंबेडकर जी मेरे लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात डॉक्टर अंबेडकर जी की है. The second point I wish to mention is something very interesting. You must have heard, or people outside Maharashtra may not have heard, Dr. Shesharao More is a noted Marathi scholar and researcher on Dr. Ambedkar. So he describes there were three stages of Dr. Ambedkar's movement. The first was between 1920 to 1935, where Dr. Ambedkar comes, or we see Dr. Ambedkar as a reformer of the ill traditions of Hindu Dharma. His protests in this period were along these lines. In one of his speeches before 1930, of course, he had even said, Hindus don't need Shuddhi, but need Sangatan. And this is quoted by his biographer, Mr. Dhananjay Keer. One can observe that the RSS was started in the very decade with the exactly same objectives. The words he used were Hindu Matrancha Hakkancha Zahirnama. That means the charter of the rights of the Hindu people for his charter of demands of the untouchables. At times, he wanted himself to be called Protestant Hindu. This is again quoted by Dhananjay Keer. His Mandir Satyagraha, temple Satyagraha, the Satyagraha for entering the temple, and the famous Mahad event were in line to the strategy of being a moderator of the Hindu culture. He waited, but unfortunately, the then Dharmic leaders did not pay heed to his callings. So in 1935, upset with the responses from the Hindu leaders and the Hindu community in general, there were many reasons for this. But then Dr. Ambedkar made a famous Evla declaration that I may have born as a Hindu, but certainly would not die as a Hindu. And that was the mark of beginning of the second stage of his movement. He still waited for 26 more years. But the focus was now shifted to a strong social and political movement and finding the constitutional ways for the rights of the downtrodden people. Dr. Ambedkar stands even taller as a national hero and a leader who wants to rebuild the modern India with his role as a father of the constitution in the third phase. He leaves behind the differences with other political parties, and expresses concerns over the unity and sovereignty of India, of the nation. We all must study Dr. Ambedkar's speeches in that time, in that period, every speech, and we will understand the genuine concerns for the democratic ways to rebuild India after independence. That is very, very significant again. The third point to me, there were offers and pressure, but he chose Buddha Dhamma over the Semitic sects, which is entirely an indigenous religion and which echoes the Bharati ethos. And this was very much again in line with his thinking about the deep cultural unity he speaks. We can easily see that wherever in India, wherever in Bharat, when Hindus are proselytize to Semitic sects with foreign origin, we are now having a demographic imbalances towards them. And there are all sorts of problems going on in those regions. Everyone, especially the Hindus, must be grateful to Dr. Ambedkar for saving the country from getting divided on religious grounds. यहाँ पर मुझे एक बात और बतानी है कि फॉर्मर पीएम भारत रत्न अटल जी has written a beautiful article in a book called Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, The Man and His Message, 1991 book, which was edited by Rajya Sabha Secretariat. राज्यसभा ने ये बुक पब्लिश किया था. अटल जी का बड़ा उसमें एक चैप्टर है, लेकिन केवल एक पैरा अटल जी ने जो लिखा है मैं यहाँ पे पढ़ के बताऊंगा. मैं अटल जी कहते हैं कि हाउ डॉक्टर अंबेडकर हैज सेव्ड इन भारत. तो अटल जी कोट्स डॉक्टर अंबेडकर. मैंने एक बार अस्पृश्यता के प्रश्न पर गांधी जी से चर्चा करते हुए कहा था, अंबेडकर कहते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू अटल जी, कि अस्पृश्यता के सवाल पर भले ही मेरे आपके साथ मतभेद हो, जब समय आएगा तो मैं देश को कम से कम क्षति पहुंचाने वाला मार्ग स्वीकार करूंगा. आज बौद्ध धम्म स्वीकार करके मैं देश का अधिक से अधिक हित साधन कर रहा हूं. कारण यह है कि बौद्ध धम्म भारतीय संस्कृति का ही एक भाग है. इस देश की संस्कृति, इतिहास तथा परंपरा को कोई आघात न लगे, यह सावधानी मैंने बरती है. दिस इज वेरी लाउड एंड क्लियर अगेन एंड वेरी वेरी क्लियर. सो द थर्ड पॉइंट, so the fourth point we wish to talk is Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has a complete faith in democratic ways to resolve any crisis. What we must know and tell everybody that despite of the grave injustices and caste biases thrown at him and how grave they are, he never ever advocated violence. Never. When we look into the history books to the early life, Bhimrao as a kid had to face the caste discrimination right from his school days. जब वो एक बार निकले थे, Bhimrao and his siblings of age group must be 10 to 15 or even lower, once were traveling to their father in a remote place in Satara. They had to hire a bullock cart after getting down at a railway station, and those were the hot summer days. And the kids hired a cart outside the station and were about to get onto it. Somehow the cartman suspected that the kids were from the so-called lower castes, and he refused to drive them and asked them to walk by inside on the hot, dirty road. When they doubled the rent, he allowed them to get onto the bullock cart but did not share the seat with them and started walking after the cart himself. So what sort of injustice? What kind of mentality this was? And this continued even when Dr. Ambedkar returned from his overseas education and the Maharaja of Baroda, Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad ji, offered him a senior post in finance department, maybe at the rank of secretary finance. Could you imagine what kind of caste discrimination he had to face there? Imagine a peon throwing a file from a distance arrogantly to the secretary finance instead of handing it over politely. Can you imagine this situation in 2022? This was the superiority complex generated by the caste bias in a common man. And Dr. Ambedkar had to face it, the severest of the discriminations. So anybody who had to face severe discriminations, who had to face severe injustices, can justify use of violence, but he never ever did that. That is a greatness to me. The lake in Mahad village, or in every village for that matter, was accessible even to the animals to quench their thirst, but not for the untouchables. Dr. Ambedkar had to face severe resistance to touch the water there. In his satyagraha for entering the Kalaram temple at Nashik, the so-called upper caste tried to block him by pelting stones. Dr. Ambedkar's greatness lies in his never-ending faith in democratic ways. He could have easily retaliated. He could have easily asked his followers to retaliate with similar methods, but he did not. We must see the important thing of Mahad Satyagraha. It was not a protest or agitation against anything. Mahad town local governing body had adopted the resolution passed by the then Mumbai Assembly in 1923, according to which all water resources were open to all castes. So it was a legal attempt to exercise the rights. And Dr. Ambedkar himself was very clear that he didn't want the protest to get converted into Dalits versus the caste Hindus. But the Sangharsh would be between those who believe into untouchability and those who wish to abolish it. There was a powerful political party called Non-Brahmin Party, and they pledged to support Dr. Ambedkar. They wrote to Dr. Ambedkar that we would like to support you. There is only one condition, that you ought to remove the Brahmins who are supporting you or who are with you in the Satyagraha. Dr. Ambedkar very clearly wrote them back. I do not like this idea. He said, I do not hate Brahmins. I hate the Brahmanism, which he thought that the root cause of the injustice or untouchability, and it is everywhere in every caste, not in the Brahmin caste only. So this is a very significant when today what we see, the leftists, the ultra leftists and their cabal resort to violent protest in the name of rebel. They blatantly support the violence. Dr. Ambedkar, to me, is a true champion of democracy who tried to give the constitutional methods to every problems we have. The current Tukde gangs and everyone who supports them today, their philosophy only can be countered with Dr. Ambedkar's thoughts. The fifth point I want to mention, and it's very important to me, is that Dr. Ambedkar, his clear thoughts on the Islam and the Islamic Brotherhood. He strongly advocated that the exchange of population should be there. The exchange of population theory, it's very popular. You can find it on net and in his books. One important point of Dr. Ambedkar, that he wrote very, very logically with evidences, and no one could counter it. And whatever he said, he just wrote down the things on the paper. That is very, very important. So his thoughts on Islam and Pakistan are in his short book, Pakistan or the Partition of India, first published in 1940. He very clearly says, Hinduism is said to divide people, and in contrast, Islam is said to bind people together. This is only a half-truth, Dr. Ambedkar says. For Islam divides as inexorably as it binds. The brotherhood of Islam is not the universal brotherhood of man. It is a brotherhood of Muslims for Muslims only. There is a fraternity, but its benefits are confined to those within that corporation. For those who are outside the corporation, there is nothing but contempt and enmity. On the question of Muslims' loyalty to this country vis-a-vis their loyalty to Islam, Dr. Ambedkar says, wherever there is a conflict between Muslim law and the law of the land, the former must prevail over the latter, and Muslims will be justified in obeying the Muslim law and defying the law of the land. What exactly we are observing here today. So when it comes to stopping the bulldozers, people run to the Supreme Courts. They want the justice. They want a verdict on by the Supreme Court, the law of the land. When it comes to wearing a hijab or banning a hijab, and when Supreme Court says to ban the hijab, people say this is not under our law, dharmic law or religious law. This controversy, he had warned about it to us very long ago. He was very, very clear to advise the Dalits in the conflict regions in Pakistan to enter Bharat with every possible way. He also clearly says that the Dalits will get themselves into trouble if they trust Pakistan, Muslim League, or the Hyderabad Nizam. This is self-explanatory and this needs no further explanation. His ideas are very clearly distorted by the Jai Bhim, Jai Meme nexus with blatant lies. And this is a thing to worry about to me. The sixth point is the trinity he has given: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And Dr. Ambedkar describes that this is not, derived from the French Revolution or French thinking. This is the very Indian thought. This is the very Bharatiya Tattva Gyan: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And out of the three, he says माझ्या तत्वज्ञानात बंधुतेला सर्वोच्च स्थान आहे in Marathi. That means fraternity is most important out of the three. He himself many times said that the Trinity stands firm on the foundation of fraternity. Without fraternity, liberty and equality will have no values. In other words, he is strongly advocating Bandhu Bhavana, fraternity. And when the Sangh strongly bats for the equality and the end of the caste discrimination, it means to advocate this with the word Samarasta. Samarasta is the awakening of fraternity or Bandhu Bhavana in everyone's heart and mind. This is the better solution to end the discrimination than the laws and the regulation. Bandhu Bhavana ko jagrut karna. That is why Dr. Ambedkar has given so much importance to fraternity. So this is a very important point to me, which needs to be noted and which needs to be studied by the scholars. The seventh point, his entire life, Dr. Ambedkar rejected communism. This is something everyone in India must know. Dr. Ambedkar's famous book, Buddha or Karl Marx, we must read. In his interview to BBC, Dr. Ambedkar had said, I claim that Buddhism is a complete answer to Marx and his communism. This needs to be clearly brought into the discourse, especially in the times we are hearing the unnaturally coined slogans like Jai Bhim Lal Salam. The communists reject the idea of dharma. They say dharma is a opium. Dr. Ambedkar, on the other hand, very strongly considers dharma is essential. He says, some people think that religion is not essential to the society. I do not hold this view. Dr. Ambedkar says, I consider the foundation of religion to be essential to the life and practices of a society. So this is contrast to the communist ideas. And all his life, to the entire life, he was opposing the idea of communism. Eighth point is very, very important. Babasaheb gave us the exact definition of Hindus in the draft of the Hindu Code Bill. He included everyone except the Christians, Muslims, Parsis, and the Jewish into the fold. So precisely in line with the deep cultural unity idea that he propagated. When a Sikh leader tried to oppose to, the inclusion of Sikhism into the Hindu Code Bill, saying Sikhs are not Hindus, Dr. Ambedkar provided a solid documentation on shared practices and similarities in the personal law. And on this platform, I would like to mention that the Hindu women were grossly benefited with this bill and they should be indebted to Dr. Ambedkar for it. That was the eighth point I want to mention. The ninth point I wish to mention that Dr. Ambedkar had laid the foundation of many central institutes like the Reserve Bank of India, the Damodar Valley Corporation, and many more. We must know that Dr. Ambedkar was the harsh critic of the British economic exploitation of Bharat, and he clearly blames the British Raj for the poverty in India. People will not tell you this. Many say Dr. Ambedkar had not participated in the independence movement, like the Britishers never sent him to jail like they sent to many other freedom fighters. But look at the thoughts. He clearly blames the British Raj for the poverty, and he writes a book on how the British has exploited India. So this is very, very important, and we must all bring it into the discourse. The last 10th point is a bit, we must hear it to the end. We come to the historic speech delivered by Dr. Ambedkar at the Constituent Assembly on 25th November 1949. It's very important in many ways. It brings ahead of us a great leader who had a clear vision about his people and about this nation. In the beginning, he is worried of India losing her independence once again. Once again, the term is very important. He gives examples of treachery of King Dahar's commander Muhammad bin Qasim, of Jaichand, who invited Muhammad Ghori, and of the Maratha nobleman who helped the Mughals against Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And we must note, Dr. Ambedkar says in this speech, Shivaji was fighting for the liberation of the Hindus. This is the term used by Dr. Ambedkar. And he again warns us, unless we convert the political democracy into social democracy, we will fail again. So he is worried about losing the independence. He has three gold standard advices for us to prosper with strengthening the democratic system. What are they? And they are the eye openers, even very, very relevant even now. The first one is hold fast to the constitutional methods of achieving our social and economical objectives. That means he clearly rejects the idea of anarchism, the endless agitations, the meaningless protest, and the baseless and meaningless agitations coming out of that. In recent times, we have been witnessing the grammar of anarchy in Bharat and the manufactured protests, which were very opposite to Dr. Ambedkar's idea of fighting the inequalities, as they don't hold to the constitutional methods. The second one, his sentence is, we must not lay our liberties at the feet of even a great man, or trust him with power which enables him to support their institutions. Andha bhakti ko talo. This is again self-explanatory. In politics, hero worship is a sure road to degradation and eventually to dictatorship. So this warning from Dr. Ambedkar is eye-opening. And the third thing we must do, Dr. Ambedkar says, is not to be content with mere political democracy. We must make our political democracy a social democracy as well. So what is social democracy? Social democracy means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity at the principle of life. These principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity are not to be treated as separate items in the Trinity. They form a union of treaty in the sense that to divorce one from the other is to defeat the very purpose of democracy. Without fraternity, equality, and liberty will be no deeper than coats of paint, he says. And again, bandhuta, bandhu bhavana, fraternity, samarasta. He gives very, very importance to this. To build a nation, you need to have fraternity among the sects of the society. We, the people of Bharat, are and will always remain in debt to the great son of Bharat Mata, Dr. Ambedkar, Babasaheb Ambedkar, for everything he did for the social and cultural unity, for his vision about the new Bharat, for his clear and unambiguous stance on the matter of national and social safety, for the Constitution, and above all, for giving voice to the downtrodden people. I would like to conclude this speech, or I would like to conclude my thoughts with a speech Dr. Ambedkar given in the same session. He says, I know today we are divided politically, socially, and economically. He was aware. We are a group of warring camps, and I may go even to the extent of confessing that I am probably one of the leaders of such a camp. मैं भी हूं, लोग आपस में झगड़ रहे, हम लोग एक दूसरे से झगड़ रहे, कैंप्स बना के, मैं भी ऐसे एक कैंप का नेता हूं. But sir, with all this, I'm quite convinced that given time and circumstances, nothing in the world will prevent this country from becoming one. These are the prophetic words of Dr. Ambedkar, visionary words. Nothing in the world will prevent this country from becoming one. With this, I wish to conclude my speech. Thank you very much, and my tributes to the legendary maker of India, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prasanji. It was an absolutely wonderful and insightful session. And I'm pretty sure all the viewers, they are now more informed, much more informed about the details and, the little notions that we were unaware about. So thank you so much for taking out this time and enlightening us.